a landmark event set to take place in Washington, D.C. in just a few days. The UAP Disclosure Forum. That's where lawmakers, whistleblowers, and so many more will once again gather on Capitol Hill. They're going to continue their push for UFO transparency. This comes amid growing pressure for full disclosure from the federal government, going past the 3 batches of UFO files we've seen unsealed so far. The most recent drop included this video that we're showing you of mysterious reddish orbs of light just floating over a pond. Along with this week's UAP forum, another major development is also in the works. A new multidisciplinary team of scientists is being assembled. They're ready to supply their expertise to our nation's government on whether some of these sightings could be alien in nature. To break all of this down, let's bring in Director of Operations for the Disclosure Foundation, Lester Nare. Lester, welcome to the show.
Pleasure to be here,
Let's start
Hannah.
with this. Pleasure to have you. I want to start with this upcoming forum. I'm so fascinated by this because you are one of the core team members running point on next week's event. Tell me a bit more about it. What are the goals? Who can we expect to hear from?
So as we've seen the government now put forth records that really are identifying that this is not just allegations anymore, this is an issue that we've been dealing with some time, we need to begin to bring together not only members of Congress from both the House and the Senate who have been really speaking to this issue vigorously for the last several years, but also the broader scientific community and the general public to start to make sense of what it is we may be dealing with here.
Let's talk about the batches of UFO files that have been released thus far. Any sticking points for you? Are you at all concerned that any of these files could be a national security concern?
There's certainly national security aspects to this, especially given that we are seeing, particularly in the documents, that these incursions of technological objects of unknown origins are occurring not only over the continental United States, but also over nuclear facilities. But if we look at the broader allegations from whistleblowers such as David Grush, if any of these represent technologies of non-human origin, there are significant broader societal implications here, not only from the national security perspective, but also from a psychological, sociological, economic, and religious context. So part of what we're trying to do at the forum is broaden the aperture, not only just to focus on the national security applications, but how do we as a general public really begin to potentially integrate what may be sensational revelations that will arise out of this process?
Oh, Lester, I don't have to tell you, that's a very difficult question to answer. What do you see happening next when it comes to these files? Will the Department of War keep releasing them very slowly, a trickle? Or will events like the one you're throwing or this week's Disclosure Forum lead to the total, full, and immediate release of any remaining files, videos, documents?
I think the process is going to be important here. We actually just recently did a national poll on this subject, and 84% of Americans want more government information on this, but the trust in the government on this issue is as low as 21%. So we have to bridge that gap, and a couple of ways we can do that is by getting actual sensor data into the hands of the scientific community, which will help with independent validation, which is something that the UAP Science Council you mentioned earlier will potentially assist with. But ultimately, we really are going to have to address head-on the allegations of the potential possession of physical materials, either within the hands of the U.S. government or private contractors. And as many of the public look at this issue, that is the aspect that they are most keenly interested in. And what is the process by which we locate this and potentially bring it back to government control if, in fact, this is within the defense industrial base as opposed to being within the hands of the U.S. government directly? There are a lot of complex questions here, and we're going to need a very broad approach to both do the incremental process of let's get better data to establish that we may be dealing with something truly anomalous here, while also potentially going for a leapfrog approach to get directly to the alleged materials that may exist in possession of either the government or contractors.
Lester, I have to say, this sounds like an overwhelming task. I want to go back to the UAP Science Advisory Council. Just to remind our viewers, this is a team of scientists. They're set to work alongside the U.S. government. They're led by one of our regular guests, Professor Avi Loeb. What do you make of this council? Do you think this is a crucial next step?
I think what it identifies is that the government understands the broader implications of this and is trying to build a whole of government approach. The UAP Science Council is one of what will be a larger interagency process run by not only the White House, the Office of the Director of National Intelligence, the FBI, and the Department of War. And so we're bringing a lot of the bureaucratic institutions that are going to be necessary to address this to the table. And the UAP Science Council, again, is going to be particularly important given sort of the lack of trust issue we just talked about. But one of the challenges that this issue always brushes up against is the classification problem. And as we know today, the Science Council will not be given access to some of the classified data. And so the declassification process, in order to get real sensor information and independently validatable information, is going to be a very, very key aspect to this.
Oh, let's see how it plays out in the next few days. Thank you so much for coming on, Lester Nare. We appreciate your time.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.